Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, my group would like to present our final project, which is about national justice fighter of Malaya history, Tun Tan Cheng Lock. I would like to introduce myself and our presenter. First of all, my name is Nur Amelia Natasha binti Azman. Our second presenter is Khairunisa Natrah binti Hairun. The third presenter is Aina Kamilia binti Azmi. The next presenter is Nurul Najiha binti Hambari. And the last one is Nur Izzati Azwani binti Zasni.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurizati Azwani binti Zasni and I will continue this presentation. So, I will present the introduction and the chapter 3, which is Tun Tan Cheng Lock political career. For the introduction, archive can be defined by a collection of items which form evidence of the activities of a person or institution. In an organization context, an archive is the location where the organization's documents must be kept and organized. Archiving is important to avoid data loss, comply with laws, and increase security. In this assignment finding aids, our group will discuss about the figure of Tun Tan Cheng Lock, who is one of the members of the Malayan Anti-Japanese League, and he was the Malaysian Chinese Association first president.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. I am Nurul Najiha Hambari and I will continue with early life and family of Tun Tan Cheng Lock. Tun Tan Cheng Lock was a leading of the straight Chinese community. The other words of straight Chinese is Peranakan. It is refers to the people of mixed Chinese and Malay or Indonesian heritage. Many Peranakans trace their origins to 15th century of Malacca. Plus, Peranakan males are known as Baba, while the female as Nyonya. Tun Tan Cheng Lock was born in Malacca on Herin Street on the 5 April 1883. Tun Tan Cheng Lock studied at Malacca High School and Raffles Institution, Singapore. He taught for 6 years until 1908. Later, he returned to Malacca and worked as an assistant at the Bukit Kajang rubber plantation. In 1909, he opened his own rubber company called Ladang Getah Melaka Pindah, Ladang Getah United Melaka, and Ladang Air Molek. In 1912, his achievement in industry and business were recognized when he was appointed Justice of the Peace by the King of England. In the same year, he was also appointed a member of the Malacca Council. In 1915, he revived the Peranakan British Chinese Association (SCBA), an association in Malacca aimed at protecting the interests of the Peranakan Chinese in the Straits settlements. He was its chairman until 1935. Tun Tan Cheng Lock was a Baba Chinese who caught the eye of the British. Tun Tan Cheng Lock was a Baba Chinese whose ancestor Tan Hai Kwan arrived in Malaya in 1771. He was the third son of a family of 7 brothers and sisters. His grandfather is Tan Chun Bok and his grandmother is Thong Sun Nyo. Tan Chun Bok was a pioneer tapioca and Gambia proprietary planter and founded one of the first steamship company in Malaya. Tun Tan Cheng Lock oratorial prowess and his high position within the Chinese community in Malacca and facilitated by his business acumen. Then he was married with Yo Yok Nyo, which is the daughter of the leader Malacca Hokkien community. He had 5 children, which is Lily Tan Kim Tin Hai, Wee Kyok Kin, Alice Tan Kim Yok, Tan Siu Sin, that was former finance minister of Malaysia, and the third president of MCA. The last is Madam Agnes Tan, who donated the donation to the National University of Singapore in order to honor her father's name. Datin Paduka Tan Siok Chu was a granddaughter of Tun Tan Cheng Lock, and she was the daughter of Tun Tan Siu Sin, which is our former Minister of Finance. Datin Paduka Tan Siok Chu was the chairman of United Malacca Berhad, and she can trace her ancestry back generations. She likes to talk about her great-great-grandfather, which is Tan Chun Bok, the founder of the dynasty that was decided to start sailing service between Malacca and Indonesian Spice Island. These are the photos of Tun Tan Cheng Lock with his cousin Tun Tan Cheng Lock in India during the World War II, and Tun Tan Cheng Lock was at the Beko estate.
My name is Emilia Natasha. Today I would like to continue our presentation with early education of Tun Tan Cheng Lock. Tun Tan Cheng Lock being educated in a disciplined educational environment. Because of his poverty, he studied hardest and then became a successful person. According to his educational background, Tun Tan Cheng Lock was a clever, intelligent student during school days, and he always respected his teachers. Thus, after that, Tun Tan Cheng Lock graduated from Malacca High School in Standard 7 in 1999 and became the school's second recipient of the Tan Teck Guan Scholarship. His outstanding academic performance awarded him a scholarship to study law at Raffles Institution in Singapore from 1902 to 1908. Raffles Institution's administration allowing his students to communicate with students from other European colleges, which making him more matured and loyal to the British. Unfortunately, Tun Tan Cheng Lock was unable to study law in England due to the financial problems, so Tun Tan Cheng Lock decided to teach instead, and he taught at Raffles Institution.
Next is Chapter 3, which is Tun Tan Cheng Lock political career. For his yearly leadership, Tun Tan Cheng Lock was appointed as a member of the Malacca Municipal Commission and a judge of the peace by King George V in 1912. Tun Tan Cheng Lock was appointed as an unofficial member of the Straits Settlements Legislative Council by the British government in 1926. Tun Tan Cheng Lock advises against Malaya self-government. He has also encouraged the government to develop measures to promote Malaya genuine consciousness among Malayans with the goal of completely eliminating racism and communal sentiments. In 1932, Tun Tan Cheng Lock was appointed as an unofficial member of the Straits Settlements Executive Council. In 1933, King George V awarded the title of CBE, which is Commander of the British Empire, on Tun Tan Cheng Lock, and in the next year, he spoke out against the program of Malayanization, which attempted to integrate non-Malays in the Legislative Council. He was elected an official representative for the Straits Settlement to attend King George VI's coronation in 1937. During World War II, Tun Tan Cheng Lock was a Malay leader. He met with English government officials to discuss Malaya's future. In 1943, he provided the British Colonial Secretary, called Olivia Stanley, with a memorandum on the future of Malaya, in which he reported the creation of the Overseas Chinese Association in India. That was the first time MCA's name and concept were brought up. After that, there is Malayan Union and Federation proposals. At a dinner gathering held by Malaccan Chinese on April 2, 1946, Tun Tan Cheng Lock criticized the ex-proconsul for their anti-Chinese views and desires to prohibit Chinese and Indians from participating in the administration and government of Malaya. He also fought for fairness and equality for all races in Malaya. In 1947, the Pan-Malaya Joint Action Council chose Tun Tan Cheng Lock as president, directly fought the discriminatory portion of the Federation of Malaya Constitution report, and succeed in convincing the entire country to denounce it. In 1948, he wants to form the Malayan Chinese League and later the National United Organization with other Chinese organizations to preserve Chinese legitimate right and fight for Malayan self-rule, but the plan fell through. Next is Federation of Malaya and Malayan Chinese Association. The emergency started in June 1948, in which there were no speech, no article in the newspaper, and no media attention. Tun Tan Cheng Lock's political platform, as well as his erstwhile friend, had all but gone, and his whole post-war political agenda had collapsed. On December 29, 1948, Dato' On convened a conference of 21 senior men at his house in Johor Bahru to examine the issues and see what they could do about it. As a result, the Malayan Chinese Association (MCA) was founded, and its chairman, Tun Tan Cheng Lock, was appointed. In 1951, Tun Tan Cheng Lock prepared the MCA Reorganization Memorandum to transform MCA from a charity to a political organization, leading a delegation to British Colonial Secretariat to present a memorandum detailing non-Malays' dissatisfaction with the Federation of Malaya Constitution. In 1952, King George VI knighted Tun Tan Cheng Lock with a KBE. Last but not least is Independence of Malaya Party and UMNO-MCA Alliance. On the 14th of February in Kuala Lumpur, Tun Tan Cheng Lock attended and spoke in the third session of the MCA-UMNO Alliance National Convention. He called for a mass action movement to oppose Malaya's self-government and independence. Tun Tan Cheng Lock, together with Tunku Abdul Rahman and David Marshall, participated in the Baling Peace discussion in 1955. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi, I'm Aina Kamida binti Azmi, and we're going to move on to Chapter 4, Retirement of Tun Tan Cheng Lock. In 1935, when Tun Tan Cheng Lock retired on his legislative and executive councils, before the war, the typical retirement age for enterprises and government officials in the peninsula was 50 to 55 years old, and this is also the case in Malaysia today. His departure from this council was meant to be the beginning of his ultimate retirement from public life. Regardless of his intention and purpose, his active life as a public service has ended. He had hastened his retirement because of his wife's health, and Tun Tan Cheng Lock and his wife left in August of that year for Davos, Switzerland, where his wife's tuberculosis was gradually cured. He spent 2 years in Switzerland to ensure his wife's health. Tun Tan Cheng Lock then spent another 2 years in London before returning to Malaya in July 1939. In the society as a whole, he had a diverse group of friends of various ethnicities and religions. His 5 children, 4 daughters and 1 son were growing up and contributing to a rich existence. Despite this, he regarded his public service to be the most meaningful, significant part of his life. Tun Tan Cheng Lock pledged at the end of his public career that he would never again serve in any Malaysian legislative councils, but rather would work with members of the people to organize them into a strong political organization. However, in 1940, he began to examine the possibility of forming a Malayan-Chinese organization with Mr. Yong Shuk Lin. Tun Tan Cheng Lock departed these trade settlements with significant authority and dignity. Business appointments held by during the time were included Vice President of the Malacca Chamber of Commerce, Chairman of Directors of the Malacca Guardian Limited, Director of the Ho Hong Bank, which soon merged with the Overseas Chinese Banking Corporation to become the leading Chinese bank in Southeast Asia, and Samdabi and Company. Then, in 1949, he was instrumental in the formation of the Malayan Chinese Association (MCA) and served as its first president. On February 14, 1954, Tun Tan Cheng Lock attended and spoke at the third session of the MCA UMNO Alliance's National Convention in Kuala Lumpur. He pushed for an action campaign to oppose Malaya's self-government and independence. Tun Tan Cheng Lock was 72 years old in 1955. He was much over retirement age and had long relinquished command of the MCA. In a sudden burst of reality, he resigned as chairman of the MCA in late 1954, after an alliance directive to all parliamentary and municipal representatives, as well as all those holding office, to quit. Tengku Abdul Rahman secured a seat for Tun Tan Cheng Lock as a nominated member in the cabinet he established, despite the fact that he was not a candidate in the federal election. By the time the election took place, the UMNO-MCA alliance had won. Tan Cheng Lock has been out of the affair for a while. His active political career came to an end on March 8, 1955. He had a serious fall, which necessitated major surgery and a 4-month hospital stay. As Malaya raced towards Merdeka, he remained nearly completely retired in Malacca. He remained in Malacca throughout the election and when Tengku Abdul Rahman led an alliance mission to London. Then, on the 31st of August 1957, Malaya gained independence and Tun Tan Cheng Lock took part in the ceremony celebrating the first anniversary of Merdeka on the 31st of August 1958. His dream, or at last a portion of it, has come true. Later in 1958, Tun Tan Cheng Lock was defeated in the MCA National Assembly by Dr. Lim Chong Eu and declared his fully retirement. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Now I will explain about Chapter 5, which is Contribution and Honor. I am the presenter of Chapter 5 and my name is Kairini Sanatra binti Hairun. There are 4 contributions that I will explain in this chapter, which is first, contribution towards politics aspect. Tun Tan Cheng Lock gave a lot of contribution in politics aspect, which was the foundation of Malayan Chinese Association (MCA). Tun Tan Cheng Lock was the first president of MCA, which was formed on February 27, 1949. Actually, MCA began as a welfare organization, but in 1952, it became a political party by joining the UMNO-MCA alliance. The alliance was built because the alliance wants to win the election on the Kuala Lumpur municipal election. The election was very successful because the collaboration received a lot of assistance and won 94 of 124 seats for the election. The MCA rise until on August 31, 1957. It is resulted in the struggle for national independence. The next contribution is towards education. In education, there are 2 main topic or aspect that Tun Tan Cheng Lock wants to discuss towards the community, and it gave a lot of impacts towards education. First, establishment of formalized education system, and second one, fighting for Chinese education. The first one, establishment of formalized education system. Tun Tan Cheng Lock wants establishment of commercial and agricultural school. He wants to have extra classes, the revival of private schools, and also provisional of education. And next, for Chinese education, he fights for an education agenda to suggest not just English that a student that should learn, also Chinese in general. The third contribution is contribution in social. Tun Tan Cheng Lock influenced a lot of Chinese people by uniting all of the Chinese at the time and form a coalition with the first Prime Minister. Since there is a gap between Malay people and Chinese people during that time due to pro-Malay British policies, therefore Tun Tan Cheng Lock is a person that dare to fight for these issues and also fight for the language and the immigration problem during that time. Aside from that, Tun Tan Cheng Lock also involved himself in community issues such as giving his voice about the formation of single marriage. And lastly, the contribution is towards agriculture. There are two agriculture that Tun Tan Cheng Lock focused on in his life, which is rubber from rubber tree and also paddy to regain the rice. Since Malaya main essential food is rice, and also there's a lot of shortage in adequate of rice supply. Therefore, Tun Tan Cheng Lock involved himself in agriculture. Therefore, economy of Malaya people are become good towards agriculture since there's a lot of supplies from Tun Tan Cheng Lock contribution. Next, I will explain about all the honors, titles, and awards that Tun Tan Cheng Lock received after all the contribution that he gave towards our country. First title is DPMJ, which is Datuk Paduka Mahkota Johor that been bestowed by our Sultan of Johor in 1949. And next title is a served title on 1952. And then the Tun title that been given by our DYMS Sri Baginda Yang di-Pertuan Agong on 1957. And lastly, the title of SMN Seri Maharaja Mangkunegara that be bestowed by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong of Malaysia. And the next honor is during his death, which is he received a state funeral on 20 December 1960. During the state funeral, the mourner who were Tunku Abdul Rahman himself and also Tun Abdul Razak leaded the state funeral with honor for Sir Tun Tan Cheng Lock. That's all. Thank you so much.
Tun Tan Cheng Lock is one of the Malaysia founding fathers and he is the national fighter of Malay history. Because of his great-great-grandfather's will, Tun Tan Cheng Lock was born without a silver spoon in his mouth. Cheng Lock aspired to be a lawyer, but there were no money for him to continue his education, and he just lost out on a scholarship by a few points. Next, he became a teacher at a Raffles institution, although he despised his work. His sensible mother advised him to attempt rubber plantation, which had lately arrived in Malaya, and work for his relative. Plus, Tun Tan Cheng Lock, like many straight-born Chinese of his period, was pro-Britain but was strongly inspired by thoughts of independence that was peeping through many British colonies. He was a staunch supporter of the notion of a unified, self-governing British Malaya. In this project, we have got so many information that related with our national fighter of Malay history, such as his background, career, retirement, awards, and so on.